A warm welcome to all of you. I'm Honey, working in Cygnet since more than 2 years now, and I'm your host for today's session. I genuinely appreciate your presence over here, and I promise it's going to be worth it. Over the next hour, we are going to discuss on the topic digitally onboard business partners like a pro, 80% faster, 100% accurate, and fully compliant. We have got a power packed panel lined up, and I'm thrilled to introduce our speakers. First up is Mr. Gaurav Bhave, Finance Controller at Red Bull India, with 19 plus years of experience across finance transformation, compliance, risk management in FMCG and retail. He's someone who knows how to blend precision with performance. Next up, joining him is Mrs. Sujata J, GM Finance and Accounts at Page Industries. With over 20 plus years of experience, she leads the charge in financial governance, vendor compliance, and digitizing financial operations in one of the most fast moving sectors, apparel and textiles. We also have Mr. Chanchal Kumar Bavankule, Head SCM Excellence at Altius Infra, with 18 plus years of leadership in procurement, sourcing, and supply chain transformation. He's the voice of operational scale and strategy. From the product front, we have Mr. Sanket Handa, Chief Product Officer at Cygnet.One. He is a true product visionary, having spent the last 18 plus years building tech stack, fintech, and automation platforms at companies like Landing Card, Spotlight, Sophos, and Cyberroom. And last but not the least, we have Mr. Rahul Bora, AVP at Products AVP at Cygnet.One, a techno-functional expert in fintech and tech stack. Rahul brings deep insight into financial data integration, automation, and India's evolving DEPA and accounts aggregator ecosystem. Before we jump into the session, just a small note. If you have any questions during the session, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We will address them in the end of the session. Over to you, Sanket.
Thank you, Hani, for the introduction. A very good evening to everyone, and thank you for joining us today. So, we are here to discuss a common yet a critical challenge that businesses face, which is the master data management and onboarding of the ecosystem, which is the vendors, the suppliers, distributors, with proper verification. Today, speed and compliance are both critical and both matter, but many companies that we see still deal with manual onboarding processes, scattered data, and inconsistent verifications. So this leads to delays, compliance risks, and gaps in master data. Now, key checks like the MSME verification check, the bank account validation, the GST status, or even the financial health assessment are done manually, or which leaves room for errors, or they can be skipped as well. So sometimes they are skipped. And the good news is there are tools. We have the tools which include, let's say, the onboarding workflows, the APIs, KYCs, the credit insights, uh, which helps automate and streamline this process. So the real question is, how are companies handling this today? What works for them? What are the challenges? Where are the gaps? And how do they typically drive these digitization and digital transformation journeys? We've brought together some great minds to explore that. With that and this context, let's dive into the conversation. And we have from the panelist perspective, we have Gaurav ji, and the context would be more around the distributors, with Sujata ji and Chanchal ji around the vendors and suppliers, and with Rahul around as a product SME and having solved problems like these. So Gaurav ji, let's start with you. So distributors are your frontline partners, right? Now, you gone through a digitization exercise, as you were telling me. Before you went digital, how were you onboarding those distributors, assessing their health, doing the document collections and verifications? What were the major challenges that you saw? If you can talk about that, and I'll have a follow-up question for you.
Sure. First of all, Sanket, Hani, Rahul, and the whole Cygnet team, thanks for inviting me to the webinar. Um, uh, yeah, so Red Bull is into trading business. So our distributors are our primary bread and butter. So, I mean, distributors account or at least 70% plus of our business. So I think having a happy partner in the whole ecosystem is very important for us. So prior to digitalization, we were into the classic colonial style onboarding, where there was a like 50-page onboarding form with a proper index and different sections. And then this form used to move not from table to table, but from states to states. So the entire creation is happening centrally, and there could be a distributor being registered somewhere in the corner of Rajasthan or somewhere in the corner of Kerala. So the form is filled and then it comes. Though there are enough and long instructions, but still there could be some incomplete forms, etc., etc. And then that form moves from various hierarchies within the sales team. Then it comes to the controlling team, and that is how it used to happen. So as I said, it had different sections for knowing about the background of the infra details, the clientele, etc., etc. But and yeah, we used to do bank statement was the only thing which we had for analyzing the financial health of the DP. Yeah, so it was there. It was quite a foolproof process, but it was quite lengthy and cumbersome process. Yeah.
Okay. So quick, thank you for summarizing this. What were the kind of verifications and financial assessment or health assessments you did? And from a vision standpoint, what would an ideal process for you look like? Uh,
Yeah.
and what impact has it made today for you? And how did you actually go about rolling out the entire digitization and automation? Because it's a big thing to do.
Correct. So, see, the whole company is in the phase of digital transformation. I mean, of course, the journey started some 4, 5 years back, and we have picked up some areas which are more critical to business, like distributor management system, then the SFA. So all these were our first picks, but we had to look at the whole landscape, the entire organization has to be future ready. So we are of course looking for AI and analytics, but I would say that's phase two. Firstly, we need to have systems in place to collect long and enough data. Okay, so having said that, we were in this journey, and in this digital rather the partner onboarding process, there were a lot of lacunas. Is to like sometimes the biggest challenge is there's no proper communication that happens. As to where the form is, whether it is in Kerala or it is on the way or it is in somebody's table. So there were a lot of challenges that we had to correct, and that used to hamper the whole experience of the distributor. Imagine a distributor who's our key partner onboarding, and his first experience about Red Bull was getting hampered. So we knew that we want some kind of a seamless solution, which is completely a transparent solution where there is enough and good visibility. So we are growing, we are in a category which is growing at a very good pace. And thankfully, Red Bull India is also growing at a very good pace. And we had to make our company agile. Okay. So we definitely want a solution which is fast yet compliant. So we were definitely looking at a solution which has got a whole digital workflow, digital onboarding journey. And then you're aware that the recent government is coming up with a lot of new regulations. So we have to be compliant, and thankfully the government is also getting a lot of APIs kind of thing where you can go and assess, I mean, do the KYC online. Okay. But of course, we need some partners. So we were looking for a solution which is seamless, one-stop solution. So this is what the vision was clear. We were looking for different partners. And yeah, so we identified Cygnet as one of the partners, and yeah, we are there. I think the thing are quite smooth and good. Yeah.
Awesome. Gaurav, thank you for this. Let me go ahead and also ask, what difference has this made for you in terms of when you compare the post versus the pre scenario?
So, I mean, first of all, like I said, the biggest important thing is the transparency, the agility. When I say transparency, everybody knows where the form is stuck. Okay. And so that people can take action. See, imagine there's a DP and a DPM. DPM is a distributor partner management. He is talking to DP, and the DP is following up with the DPM. The DPM never used to have a clear picture where the form is stuck. So now he has a clear transparency, like where it is in the journey. If there are any queries, what are the queries? First of all, the number of queries got minimized because of this KYC. Most of the queries relating to the FSSI, etc., are gone because they are checked at first go itself. So I would say the and the whole thing has become very agile as to things move fast. There's a real-time KYC update. Also, we get to have a better and automated analysis of the bank statement. So things have definitely changed, and it is making Red Bull future ready, basically.
Awesome. Awesome. Good to hear that. And I'm sure this will be useful for people. The audience can relate to that. Okay. Moving on to Sujata ji, you from a vendor and supplier perspective. So, a similar question to you: how were you onboarding your suppliers and let's say vendors? How would you typically collect the documents, do the verifications? What were the major challenges? And if you also can link it from a compliance and ITC and GST compliance perspective, that would be helpful.
Yeah, thank you for onboarding me today. Yes, for Page, we were on a manual process for the vendor onboarding. It was like, we had a form which has to be sent to the vendors through a mail. It was sent. And this form was all again, we have different business teams running in the forefront, different departments, each one onboarding the vendors. It was not a centralized one. So the forms was being sent through mail to each one of them and collect data. Now the document which was coming in the mails were all scattered and it was not in one place. And those documents, we might, the person who used to create a vendor might miss the mails, right? So we used to find that there was a lot of gaps in, even touch points, to know that somebody has sent something was a pinpoint because it was on a mail and scattered everywhere. So the person was not taking the data in time to get those for vendor creation. First thing is identification of the mailbox. It was a general mailbox and the importance of it was not known. It was given equal importance to everything. Second, the documents which came in had a lot of queries in the documents. So there was 2 and 4 running. The documents were sent back. This is not correct. That is, we want better visibility of it. It is not properly signed. And we cannot accept this because the authenticity of the document was questioned. So we had challenges in accepting the documents which was coming on because there was no verification or authentication given on the documents. And even the mail which was being sent by juniors from a vendor. When we send some request, the junior guy is responding to the mail. Now the authenticity of the documents was questioned, be it your bank, the check details, the payment details, be it the PAN details, and even some registration details. There was a question mark. There was no authenticity on it. Third was, compliance. Now, when we look at compliance on the GST, now GST, whether the verification of the GST post facto we were doing about, is it compliant here, is he active or not active? We were not aware about it. So it was just flushed in the documents. It was left to the guys to look in for, and it was taking a long time, and it was not a standard process. What I was want to drive here, it was not a standard process. And coming to the other regulatory checks, like we have different vendors who have a job workers, we have to collect some their compliance part with respect to the regulatory things like the ESI compliance, PF compliance, or labor law compliances. All that was also, once it is collected, it has to be routed through a relevant department to verify it, be it an HR, to authenticate those data and give it. There were no proper workflows. They used to take a long time and used to live in their mailbox, and we didn't have a TAT calculation why it is taking. It was just sent and we wait for it. How long do you wait for it? So that was not, calculated, and responsibilities was not fixed in. So the vendor onboarding itself was a little bit a lengthier process because of the touch points we had for the data which came in, and some other department like the ESG guy has to validate it with respect to some ESG points, or be it the IT. Now, when we talk about the privacy and say if I'm onboarding an IT, somebody with respect to some IT related services, now we need to check about his compliance part of it. IT has got certain rules, right? So they have to vet it. So this data was flushed to the IT desk, and they used to take some time to. What we were trying to tell, we didn't have a proper work. Hence, there was, collating them and putting into a standard workflows and collecting, authenticating it was a challenge. And again, the GST compliance, which the government is brought in for your input credits, was not taken care. And we used to, it was a post facto, when we go for three-way matching, we find that this guy, the vendor is not he's not filed his return. Hence, so there was something which came as an effect to the cash flow. These were the challenges which we were facing when we were non-digital. And post, we also realized that it's time up as a company. We are also going digital on certain areas. We identified this also one of the area for digitization.
Okay. Thank you so much. A quick question. So this process typically involves multiple teams, right? So
Yeah.
how did you ensure, how do you actually ensure cross-team alignment for a project like this to make it work? And if you want to quickly summarize on the outcomes that you have achieved as a result of as you've been doing.
Yeah, so aligning the each department onto a digital platform. This as we were moving on to digital, not only with the onboarding, we are also looking at as a company on the digital platform on other areas also. Be it Salesforce, we have now Salesforce coming in. We have different digital roadmap. So everybody have been, and everybody felt that need, that vendor onboarding is critical enough, and that has to be, recorded even for the audit. Today, you who was given the confirmation on this? If somebody asks, somebody has to go and search in the mailbox, right? So this required everybody to for the audit trials also that we require a digital platform. And second, for your second point, what is changed here is, yes, as we said that we have been agile on all the requirements, and it is the documentation part, And more so, the documents which comes in, I have to put into my ERP, right? That was also manual. So even this bridge between, what we collected and getting into the ERP was not vetted properly. And this digitization has helped us to overcome these obstacles.
Okay, okay. Very well summarized, ma'am. This is very helpful. Chanchalji, so you are into the telecom infrastructure business, as I understand, and
Yes.
suppliers and vendors who would be responsible for providing materials, some of them for installing purposes, servicing purposes. So in that case, in this kind of a scenario where you have multiple types of business partners and of varying sizes, how does the onboarding work for you? Because there are critical partners in your case, I believe there would be a due diligence process also happening. So how does that work out? What are the major problem statements that you see and which you want to address, and why those problem statements? What's the impact on the business operations that you see as a result of this?
Okay. Uh, thanks, Sanket, for that question. It is a lengthy one, but I will, answer it in parts. So I will take the first part. First, yes, we have suppliers across the country. So because we have our sites, towers across the country, so we need suppliers to build new towers. We need suppliers to deliver goods there. We need contractors to maintain those towers, and we have teams at all the places who keep on identifying new suppliers, to keep the supply chain running and to have sufficient vendors in place. Mm, However, what happens is the local teams are able to just identify suppliers, uh, but their onboarding and registration happens at the corporate office. So mm, currently, it is a centralized process that we do, and what we do is, because this is a centralized process, so all the documents have to flow, though digitally they have to flow to the corporate office, and then here, this is the place where challenges comes in. So when it is a manual process, it is a time consuming process. You check the get the documents manually, so manual data collection is an inefficient process. You need to verify all those 40 50 odd documents that come with the uh, registration things. Mm. Then there are issues with the data quality. You give forms to the vendor, some of the forms are not filled completely. You get incomplete details, then the data may be inaccurate. In some cases, the financial records may not be updated completely. Uh, in other cases, you may find some certifications which are outdated, not there. So all these data quality issues leads to some compliance gaps here and there, and also this has a cascading effect when when you have to report it to some internal audits, or some places you have to report some data. So if the data is not complete, then the reports also go incomplete. Third thing is the risk management of all these suppliers. When you say risk management, you have to assess the cyber security risk of suppliers. You have to assess the financial instability. You got to also assess if there is any anti-bribery non-compliance with such vendors. So with manual data, it becomes too difficult to assess these risks, find them out, and if you're not able to assess the risk uh, correctly, then you will not be able to also mitigate them. So
Okay,
this becomes one more important thing. Then in our case, because we are a vast business spread over the country, the scales are very high, volumes are very high, and when there is scale and volume, mm, maintaining manual data is very difficult. You cannot run any data analytics there, and as the business grows, things become complex, and manual data becomes more complex to be maintain, and so with scale, automation is the need. The last challenge that I'm putting here is uh, revalidation. So you onboard suppliers, you do risk, you do everything, but then there is always a risk of compliance. Some compliances have a date, so you have to ensure that if something is getting due, you need to revalidate this. So with manual thing, there is a very high chance that there could be some validations which are already expired and mm, you're not looking at it. So you missed them.
Sure. Thank you, Chanchalji. So, in summary, what I hear from Gauravji, Sujata ma'am, and Chanchalji, what you're saying is so TAT in terms of time to onboard, and maybe that impacts the overall business process or in some way or has some business impact because the business operations cannot perform till that time. Second is the compliance angle. And third, I think the efficiency angle when you said manual to digital. When I say compliance, I believe what you're referring to is compliance plus audit put together. Uh, and compliance of different kinds, right? Be it whether checking whether the vendor is compliant from GST perspective or a 206AB perspective, or different perspectives, and similarly from an audit. Okay. So, Rahul, let's move to you. You've spoken to multiple corporates and you hear these challenges and you design solutions for them. Now, enterprises are becoming, and I think they've always been, but lately so, more and more sensitive around data security and governance, especially with the DPDPA coming in force. What kind of requirements do you see from enterprises? What actions can be taken around it, and how to address them?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I'll just take that point which Gaurav has mentioned about AI. And now every boardroom, every enterprise boardroom has one thing which is common is AI. And when we talk about the data protection, data privacy, it is being always given to the IT and the legal team that it is on your perspective. It is not that we need to work on. But personally, DPDP, obviously that rules and everything is being already it's already being given. There are a lot of organizations, they have also started working on that. But with the DPDP Act coming, when we say there are a lot of people have started working on that. So I'll keep that in two parts, but it is obviously in a overlapping situation because DPDP is only for the personal data. But whenever we onboard any vendor, subcontractor and all, it always MSME or the sole proprietor, then the public data, the personal data is always coming into that picture. The personal data is there. So it is more from a personal data point of view. Even though, as I mentioned about the type of variables like the PAN number, the SIN number, the GSTIN, Aadhaar number, banking details, all of these. So wherever there is a personal data of an individual is required, it has to be managed properly when it comes to the DPDP Act. And during the onboarding, as I mentioned, especially for the MSME or the sole proprietor, they often come as an overlap, and there's always a risk lies between that. So, from a product point of view, what we have done is that even before the act was coming, we built the platform with the data minimization part. The field level is also encryption. Their proper audit trails are also maintained at the core. And we have kept the sensitive data wherever there's a sensitive fields informations are there. We have kept those as a masked and the encrypted during processing. And we also do ensure that no exposure to unintended users. And we have also given a proper role rights based management option within the application where who can control and who can see what sort of data. So it's also being controlled at a role level and the user level. I would also like, even though this DPDP workflow is still evolving, the foundation which we have created is strong enough, but still, as the act goes, that DPDP Act is coming and what sort of the clauses and the references are coming, we have started working as our, in the roadmap to implement the proper privacy-aware design. Because DPDP requires some kind of a specific consent, purpose driven, and all those particular part. So we are working on that. So that's where the organization who are using our platform, organization who are using this system, and even though even if they are not using, But from the onboarding per se, wherever this personal data part is coming, we wanted them to be go ahead in the curve and uh, not to scramble from a compliance later, because there's a huge penalty clause is also mentioned in that DPDP.
Awesome, awesome. I think that is very helpful.
I have few questions to on the panel. Since I had opportunity to work closely with the finance and the procurement team in the waves industry, and one recurring challenge, I mean, I have observed that what truly needs to be verified during onboarding. I mean, especially when there are a lot of pressures to move fast, stay compliant. They always make that there is a reduced manual checks are there. So I would like to I would like to ask questions to Sujata ma'am, Gaurav sir, and Chanchal sir. I'll start with the Sujata ma'am, uh, if she's
Sure.
Sure.
yeah. So ma'am, see, you have a huge volume of the vendors and all. So in a high volume business like yours, where onboarding speed and the compliance both matter.
Right.
So how do you define what is critical versus optional in your verification process of this stack? And with the you have implemented our application also. So we would like to know. I mean, being as a product head of that particular platform. So with our with our platform embedded into your process, how did you go about aligning your tax procurement and ops team on these threshold during implementation? Because all of these coming everything, I mean, or taking all of these together and keeping them on the same page is always a difficult task.
Yes, we do categorize vendors, right? Maybe high critical or critical vendors, raw material vendors. Now, there is one set of validation or the technical specs of that particular vendor when they onboard them on their, about their turnover, be it their capacity, that validations will happen offline, was happening. When we come to KYC part of it, yes, we look at, the critical part, the strike off, their financial balance sheets. We take about 3 years of their balance sheet to look at. So certain, key points we check about their health, financial health of theirs, and there is
Mhm.
GST compliance, and we also check their strike off, whether they are complicit with the income tax, Companies Act or the Income Tax Act. And then we also, again, the GST is one of the things which we look at for the cash flows, whether they are complicit on that. Coming to, even with their risk perspective, when we talk about the risk perspective, how the company is in the ecosystem, whether they are, complicit with any of the laws, or they have been blacklisted anywhere. We do check all this, and so we, based on, the criticality of it, we make the mandatory fields for the particular category of vendors. Now, if you talk about a vendor who's on a service mode, right, or who's a service provider, we look into how long they were there in the ecosystem, what is their financial strength, will the stability of it, and not only the KYC becomes a common factor to be there for across. But when it comes to, these categories, we do have category wise certain requirements which we make them mandatory. For IT related guys, yes, how good they are at SOC, SOC 2 reports are there in place. We do validate those requirements. And is based on the category, certain fields are made mandatory, certain fields are, just non-mandatory fields. That's how we define it. And again, we have internal, risk teams who also evaluate post the onboarding happens. They also evaluate, and the learning skills are coming up. The day to day, the environment is evolving. There are a lot of agility is required in the process. We do go and amend based on the recommendations what come in. Now, DPDP Act is not made mandatory, but as you also highlighted, people are, trying to build in into their ecosystem from the day one. So once the vendor is onboarded, again I have to check on those things. It become a secondary, again a second journey for us. So we try to inculcate all this. And even if you talk about the ESG for the manufacturing company, the ESG environment production standards are very important. We also look into those as mandatory fields for them. Yes, this is how based on the categories we do the compliance checks and the mandatory fields are enabled.
Hmm.
I hope I have answered
Great.
your question.
Yeah. Moving. So Gaurav, I mean, since you are into the different set of business, I mean, it's a distribution-led business. You are mostly into that. So, so my question to you will be in a distribution-led business where onboarding velocity is critical. How do you account for risk while maintaining speed? Because risk and speed both is, I mean, can they work together or it will be parallel or you better know? And also, are you exploring any differentiated approach in the platform which you have implemented? I mean, it's still in the implementation from Cygnet side, from an onboarding of the high risk and the low risk distributors.
Yeah. I mean, that's a wonderful question, Rahul. I would just put it is not compliance versus speed. It is compliance into speed is
To
what
speed.
we get when we digitalize things. I mean, let me give you a simple example. We used to do bank statement analysis. So imagine one person sitting with like those 10-page bank statement and he's reading through. There's a mental fatigue and he has to be very, now I get it done at a flash of a second, it's ready. So it's not versus, it is into, I would say. And I used to, so this is about the financial health, which is bank statement analysis and their financial statement analysis. So it used to happen manually, now it can happen automatically. Second aspect I would like to say is the depth. So we used to look at, say, what are the check bounds, and it is very tedious to count the total estimated turnover looking at a bank statement. Now, with automation being there, it can scan through the whole statement. It can give me a very beautiful summary, and this happens at a flash of a second. Okay. I can tell you more examples like, see, for our business, which is into beverage business, so FSSI is very, very critical. Okay. So whether the FSSI is expired or not, and whether they have FSSI for the right warehouse location or not, it's very critical. Otherwise, the business will be stopped. I mean, it will be a compliance business disturbance. So today what I can do is at a click of a button, I can run the FSSI validity for all my DPs. I used to, I mean, really struggle putting each FSSI number, going to the website, check the validity, which used to be very, very lengthy thing. I mean, I mean, everybody knows how well the GST system is. It's a wonderful system, but you still, I mean, there are companies who have multiple registrations and you have to go into different registrations, log into and see the score. Here we get the whole GRC score. I can get the compliance data for past 12 months at a click of a button. So, I mean, you are talking about the DPDP. I mean, the act is not implemented, but if I read through, it is really onerous. I mean, it's really bad. I mean, if you talk about the risk, it will give a big dip to the whole bottom line. And what does the law primarily requires? Whatever data you're collecting, you're keeping it in a secured place. Okay, it has got limited. I mean, it is kept securely. It has got secured access. Okay. Yesterday, I used to store that. I have some storage management provider, and those bunch used to go somewhere. Whether it is there, it is lost. How many people can access it while it is in my office? Today, I know who has the right to access what data. Second, I take a declaration which, I mean, which happens seamlessly, like what I'm going to use the data for. So I mean the two primary things that DPDP is a very vast act. Two primary things, we need to take a declaration as to what purpose you're using the personal data for and whether you're keeping it secure. So both are, I mean, I'm rest assured about the compliance on that. And I think we have, I mean, we also have our own scoring mechanism. So we used to do that manually. Like if he has got so much of storage space, he gets 10 X points. If he has got X number of clients as his distribution partner, he get Y points. So now I get all this at like there's a form and there's a score that is calculated. So I think it happens seamlessly and it comes as a very nice dashboard. And one very important point, like I just mentioned, it's a single source of truth which I can access anytime. I don't have to depend on my document management provider to request him retrieve the data. It is there. So I would say from the compliance standpoint, my speed has doubled. I mean, the guy who's to assess the happiest person, of course, the DP is happy. We want our partners to be happy, but the happiest person is the guy who's to do the assessment of the DP. His job is like reduced to, I mean, he is just 20% manual work and more looking at the report and analyzing it. So I think it's speed into compliance.
That's very well said, Gauravji. I think, and Sujata ma'am, very, very useful inputs. Rahul, why don't you go ahead and show a glimpse of the kind of journey that Sujata ma'am, Chanchalji, Gauravji have been talking about in terms of the kind of problem that it can address.
Yeah. So, I mean, thanks, Sujata ma'am, Gaurav sir, and Chanchalji for sharing your insights. Now we have heard about that there are a lot of challenges, approaches from different industries. I mean, as you guys are working, I'll take everyone through the product which we have built and try to map and see how exactly we are solving these across vendor, distributor, and customer journeys. So give me just 2 minutes. I'll just share my screen and then show the product.
So till the time Rahul presents it, Gauravji, Sujata ma'am, and Chanchalji. Once we go through this, and if we have time left, I wonder whether we we can go through a quick rapid round.
Of course.
Yeah.
Just to brief, this is a platform. I think Gaurav sir and Sujata ma'am knows about this platform. But for the others, this is a platform called Bridge Cache. We have it's completely role rights based management, and the idea behind this product is basically, since we are all talking about the onboarding of the different business partners, I would say, and why do we need to have a different platform for onboarding them? Like we need SRM from a supplier relationship management, we need the CRM from a customer relationship management, but the onboarding part is common for both, even for the distributors also. So the idea behind to develop this, to have this particular product, was to have a single unified platform for any kind of a onboarding, where the data collection, the validations, verifications, and the regular, or I would say periodic interval, the verification of those data can be happen, because that's the core. I mean, even though you have the ITC, we talk about ITC, we know about different cash flow of the distributors, their working capital and all those. But the core part from your own business is basically the validation, verification of those data, and the onboarding goes into a seamless manner. So there are multiple applications here. You have the options where you can create the applications. Multiple options are available. You can onboard the vendor. You can have the distributor partner. Once you create that, so the system is basically a self-driven or the self-registered mode option. I mean, instead of your internal team to do this activity, because we have seen a lot of Excels are being used for onboarding of any kind of a business partner into the ecosystem. So instead of going for the Excel-based and the email-based approach and all, you simply send an email to the business partner, and they gets onboarded into the application by themselves. So let me open one journey for you. What is the activity with the So this application is already having the pre-validated options available. When the journey goes to the business partner, they fill up the detail. Couple of things which on the fly can be verified, or while sending the link also this can be validated, like PAN number, the PAN number of the entity, and this link which is available is an encrypted. This is encrypted for that particular entity only. So once the PAN is verified, we are also capturing their legal name, what is the constitution of that. The launch date is basically the incorporation date. Then TAN number, are you MSME or non-MSME? So this is also one of a tag. If you're MSME, then you have to enter the MSME number, and we are also validating, verifying this data with the legal name of that entity which belongs to the PAN number. Additionally, as I think Gaurav sir mentioned about, and Chetal sir also aware about the subcontractors when they onboard. So PF ESSI validation is also critical, which required the verifications and the collection of those data and all. And in terms of the FMCG side, where the FSSI food safety related registration ID verification, this is also required. We do have that particular API, and we do the verification of that also. And if it is a sole proprietor, you can have the individual, Aadhaar number also. So the data which is there are a couple of sensitive information also, but when it goes to the backend, it is always being into the mask and the encrypted format on the runtime, and stored into the mask format and all. Then there is a basic contact detail, finance detail are also being added. Then list of GSTINs will auto-populated based on the PAN number. And then we do have the GRC score, which is the compliance score, whether that entity is filing their GST return in time or not. If there is any delay, then the score deteriorates accordingly. Are the invoices applicable or not? Communication details, bank detail can be updated. We do the bank verification also when I'm completing my journey. When I enter the bank detail, it is also being validated with the penny drop penniless facility, and the account holder name and the borrower name is also account holder name is also getting validated with the PAN number, because we have seen a lot of the cases where the banking detail of the vendor is not matching with the PAN number, legal name associated with that PAN number. So this is also one of a part which we have that. And then the set of documents which is required. So like the identity, business identity related, individual identity related document details, business identity related part, then the financial related informations like your ESIN certificate, FSI, bank statement, as Gaurav sir mentioned. Once this is being updated and imported by the distributor or the vendor, so all of these forms and all these are completely configurable. Whatever details we wanted to showcase, we can show that. And once this is being done, it goes to the backend, and then the verification, the approval part is being done. So if the application is being initiated and submitted, the user can log into the application and do the verification of those particular. Yeah. So I can review, and I can then do the field level verifications. Those fields which are already being verified through the API will always be available as a verified source. And those where the details are required by the individuals can be done by the person by themselves. It has field level approval flow. Then the document related part. I have the document related information. So I'll have a lot of informations. And there is a bank statement once it is being uploaded and be verified, we do the bank verification also, bank statement analysis also. So once the bank statement is analyzed, you will be able to see the banking data related informations all together. So this is also being automated. All the transactions, all the inputs which is being available is also getting validated. Obviously, this is more required when we are doing the onboarding of the dealer distributor part and all. From the vendor side, we have seen that people are asking for the financial statement. So we do have the financial statement analysis also based on the financial audited, non-audited balance sheet. We do the cash flow, the P&L cash flow and the ratio analysis of that.
So Rahul,
So once this is, yeah.
There are multiple team members within the organization that review and this So how do you handle this here?
So this is completely a workflow-driven process. There will be an initiator who can initiate the entire journey, and then there will be a checker who will approve that. And for every stage and the status, we have a proper workflow available into the tool where I'll give example that, for example, if I'm onboarding any IT vendor, I know I need the approval from the IT head. But there is a central procurement team who will send a link to the vendor. So there will be an initiator, and then there will within the IT department, I will have one person who will verify those data, and then it goes to the IT head for final approval and all. And once that is being done, then it reaches to the legal team from when digital signing process and all. So we do have a integrated signing process also. I'll show you that also in that. But it's a completely, I would say, role rights based management system with the proper approval workflow related hierarchy within the application.
Which means what you're saying is the users can actually end up reviewing these applications and details from vendors before it is taken to the ERP. Okay.
Correct.
But tell me, this is onboarding of vendors. Now, if I already have existing vendors and business partners available with me, and as an organization, I have to run different checks at different points of time. May not be through a journey, but even independently. How does this solution help them?
Yeah, so we do have an option where you can onboard your vendors list of vendor details in the master, and then we can enable the checking of those. So I'll show you that also. So where you can upload the vendor master file here, and while uploading, it will show you what sort of checks you wanted to run. So once you upload the file, all the checks of those APIs are available, and you can even schedule those checks also. Depend on when do you want to validate on a periodic basis. So scheduling option is also part of that particular system option. Okay. Meanwhile, additionally, if you see, I mean, this entire application has a stage and status. We do have one option which is critical while reviewing the, let's say, vendor data, and you identified that there is a problem with the data. So the initiator, the approver, or the initiator or the checker has reviewed, and they have just denied that this data is not correct. The designation was required, and he has not mentioned anything. For example, I'm just giving one example of that. It could be anything also. You can see that the bank account number is not correct as per the cancel check copy, scan copy, which has been submitted. Even though we verified this data with the name of that, but the cancel check copy is not correct. So you can then reject this particular part also. Now, once you reject this, again a journey will be initiated to the business partner, and they will have to complete that activity. So once I log into the application, so once as a business partner, once I log into the application, I will see there is a request being asked by the company. And if I go and I see that, okay, they are asking for the update of the designation and the account number, these two details are not correct, I can click there and I can update it. Now, only those fields are available. I can put, let's say, AVP. And I just click next. Yes, I wanted to submit that. And once this is being done, I can then again do the entire activity.
Okay, so Rahul, you're saying no more following up over emails, even for incomplete.
Yes.
Team can happen.
It can happen through the system, and you will have a proper audit tracking of that particular part. And it also has the timeline activity also. You have a proper journey workflow timeline also, when it is being done, how much time it has taken. All of these part is also part of that system.
Rahul,
additionally, yeah.
UI, there are companies who want this to be done via the interface, both individual checks and the journeys. There are companies who want this integrated into their ERP. Is this how does that work then?
Yes. So we do have a customer base who has done the entire initiation of the journey from their ERP itself. So we have exposed the API, and from their ERP itself, they can send a link to their distributor, to their vendor or the customer for getting their onboarded data within their ERP. And obviously, the implementation where this ERP integration is being done, the data goes into the ERP, but in a temp table, or you can say there's some custom table, Z table, if they are using SAP. And from there, if they once they verify and if they find any issue, they can reopen that journey, and that link can again go to the vendor or the customer business partner, where they can complete their entire correction of the data once again. And once this data comes into the ERP, certain ERP has its own workflow, I would say, not that complicated workflow, which the organization usually follow over an email and some different process and all. But there is a high level workflow is also part of the ERP, through which they usually take that. And once they validated that data, we have also exposed the verification API to their ERP, where on a periodic basis, for example, I have taken the GST number, and after 3 months, I want to revalidate that. They can revalidate that with that API. So which will be scheduled into their ERP, and automatically this or the revalidation of their entire data set can happen on the fly from their ERP itself.
Awesome, Rahul. Thank you for giving a quick view in our
just one thing. Just one thing I want to add here, that once this is being done, obviously we need the certain company has a supporting document requirement, certain things as a so here you have the entire risk analysis, risk categorization part. Based on this, the automatically based on your different risk. This is obviously it's a human driven, like criticality of the activity which is outsourced. If you're outsourcing something, confidential customer inform shared or stored, scope of involved customer. So once you complete this in high, medium, low accordingly, once this is done, automatically the risk score is getting calculated at the bottom. Obviously, it's given by our the customer only. These things are being through our customer understanding and all. But we have kept because every organization has their own risk evaluation parameters and all. And once this is being done, it's automatically being through. To automatically create a final score, risk categorization score, so for them to take it further to define some criticality within their ERP, while once this vendor code is getting created or the business partner code is getting created in their ERP.
Awesome, Rahul. Thank you so much, Rahul, for the brief. Guys, opening up this for any questions that you want to type into the chat. And while you add questions, I wanted to run a quick 30-second questions for each of the panel members. Sorry, guys, this is a bit of a surprise, but let's do that. Gauravji, starting with you, what would be, and this is like quick 10 seconds, 15 seconds, just try and summarize. What would be one piece of advice that you want to give for organizations from a master data and ecosystem management perspective?
Okay, so master data is a super critical point from the KYC point of view. So, and nowadays where the compliance burden is shifting to the partners, like in GST, whether your supplier is being compliant or not is the onus is on the company. So that is why the master data is very, very important. So KYC and master data are most critical thing to have, and this also will support you in your AI and automation and analytics. So it will create a good database for you. So it is critical from that standpoint as well.
Awesome. Chanchalji, a question to you. What would be the 3 major KPIs that you would monitor and make sure that whether it's benefiting the overall business or not? What would be the top 3?
So if you say top 3, first would be the financial stability of the supplier. If the supplier is financially stable, then you can onboard him quickly. Second is the compliances. Compliances are a must. So it may look short term that you get a non-compliant supplier, but in the long term it will definitely impact the business. And third is the capability to deliver the goods or services that you need. So these, in my view, are the top 3 things that
very aptly summarized. Sujata ma'am, same question to you as I asked to Gauravji. One line of advice you want to give to the entire audience who's wanting to digitize this entire part.
Yeah, today it's a digital world, no more a manual process, which is a person who's on digital world is acquiring more business, agility is there, and fast reaching out is the concern. It'll be the game change now with the digital world moving. I think all the manual efforts would lead to long, you know,
Awesome.
journeys. Yeah, so digital is a way forward.
Yeah, digital. Summarizing this, we don't, the way the world is progressing, digital is no more an option. And I see digital does not mean whatever you're doing offline, you actually take the same thing digital as is. You want to improvise it, you want to
Yeah,
take
it is as is what you want to do. It is not that you're building something different. Whatever is your best practices, you need to digitize so that you are on the journey with the competitors in the world, right? In the environment. So that's the future roadmap for any industries, digitization.
Great. Thank you, Sujata ma'am. Honey, over to you for any questions that have come in, and the group is available to answer.
Yeah, so audience, we are open for the questions. If you have any queries or questions, you can drop them in the chat box.
So this is a technical question. Interesting. How different is Cygnet compared to Odoo? Rahul, I think you want to take this up. Out of the box question. Yeah. Rahul, the question is, how different is Cygnet compared to Odoo? If you want to please cover the answer.
Yeah. So, see, there is a difference. Odoo is more like a modular ERP system, I would say, which offers multiple business apps, accounting. It has CRM also, inventory, HR. There are a lot of things available in that. If I'm talking about the Odoo application and the Cygnet product which we have built is completely different. It's the purpose-built platform, I would say, which is basically to digitize, especially the deep specialization in the onboarding part, validation part, regulatory alignment, especially when we talk about uh, uh, from a compliance and regulatory point of view. So that's the in the differencing. And in terms of the company, you would say then obviously because it's an open-ended question, Cygnet and Odoo, are you talking about the platform or are you talking about the organization? So I take it from a product point of view that both the products are different in flavor. But as an organization, we have as an organization also the product and the platform which we are building is completely it's a purpose built even if it is for the tax related product or the lending related product or the indirect tax related or maybe from a digital transformation enabler point of view. Odoo is more from a modular ERP system. I would say the entire product offering which they have is completely that.
Thanks.
So that's my input on that.
Out 10 seconds to it. Most companies, or in fact, I have not seen any ERP that typically exposes its interface to external parties. And this is where one of the biggest differences come in. ERPs are more internal in nature. And while this is something we're looking at interfacing between multiple parties and also within the organization of workflow. Thank you. Yes, Ani, next question.
Yeah, so we have a question. In case of OEM, original equipment manufacturer, how effective risk assessment is?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that question. I mean, especially from the OEM point of view, where uh, the risk assessment obviously it's critical. I mean it's critical for them also because heart of the supply chain. So when we talk about, especially the variables and the parameters which is part of the onboarding, it's same. Where we talk about the GST, MSME, your due diligence of that. Uh, I mean that's Gaurav sir mentioned about the financial stability or the financial health. That basically from the cash flow understanding point of view. So all of these matters. Additionally, from the compliance side, also the status of the MCA, the company working, the uh, the strike of checks and all. So there are a couple of things which requires to be validated, or it's kind of an effective assessment needs to be done. There are a lot of checks which can be done. There are, I would say, 15, 20 plus different parameters which can be effectively used from a risk assessment point of view, especially for the OEM part. I hope I address your question.
Thank you, Rahul. Any other questions, or we are at the top of the meeting time and you want to consider wrapping? And we can certainly take up questions or connect offline with the attendees to answer their questions. And those questions can turn out to us. And if we feel that these are questions that should be answered by Sujata ma'am or Chanchalji or Gauravji, we'll certainly pass on to them, get the answers, and pass it back to you for sure.
Yeah, so no more questions as of now. Thank you so much for being with us today. A big thanks to our amazing panel for sharing such invaluable insights. I hope today's session gave you a fresh perspective on how digitizing partner onboarding can boost compliance, improve accuracy, and make life a whole lot easier for procurement, finance, and tax teams. We'll be sharing the session recording soon. If you would like to get in touch with us, please feel free to write to us at kesha.shah@Cygnet.One.com. And please don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn for more updates and upcoming events. Thanks once again.